NASCAR as we know it is nearing its end, as team owners are ready to leave if their new demands are not met. They even boycotted the all-important meeting with NASCAR officials as a sign of protest. So join us as we go through the flaws of NASCAR that could literally see the sport digging its own grave, as well as how the team owners are pursuing what is theirs by right. There are hundreds of things to cover, but we summarized it all into just 8 minutes, and we promise we won't waste your time. NASCAR's team owners have been going back and forth with the sport in terms of the business model, something that they feel is now long overdue. As of now, 65% of the money goes to the tracks, 25% to race teams, and 10% to the sanctioning body. And there is a 10-year, $8.2 billion contract for broadcast rights revenue that is currently being reviewed by the team owners. If you feel like 25% is more than enough money for the team owners, keep in mind that they are also responsible for bringing in the sponsorships to the team, as the team has around $15 million in annual expenses, and 80% of this money should be covered by the primary sponsorship. Now, the sport is definitely flawed, and the vast influence of the France family, the one that basically started the sport back in 1948, is being kept up to this day. While there are definitely signs of improvement thanks to the new and fresh energy being brought by the youngest members of the clan, the energy that is currently flowing in NASCAR and among the team owners is definitely a negative one. Before we go to the protest of the majority of team owners, make sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel. Also, do not forget to turn on the notification posts, so that way you'll be constantly in touch with our channel and be one of the first to watch our videos. One thing that stands out is the fact that the team owners have deliberately missed the meeting with NASCAR that was scheduled to happen on Wednesday. The ownership group informed NASCAR the night before they were not going to attend because the conversation they wanted to have wasn't likely to take place. And we must remind you, this is exactly what happened when the ownership group started to meet with NASCAR earlier this year about the same topic being discussed. When the first meeting was held, the team owners felt like what they had to say was simply curved by the governing body and the sport in general, and the solutions that they provided to the owners' ongoing problems were very thin and had no influence on the general outcome whatsoever. Therefore, when the ownership came to the conclusion that the meeting that was bound to happen on Wednesday wasn't going to cover what it was initially called for, they released a statement saying that they did not have time to waste on another pointless conversation. NASCAR also came with an official statement, as the sport went on to add, NASCAR is committed to open and productive dialogue on a regular basis with all industry stakeholders. We remain committed to continuing discussions in the spirit of collaboration and with the shared goal of growing our sport for the benefit of all stakeholders. So what was initially offered by NASCAR back in October that made the team owners so mad that 6 months later they decided to take this radical step? In addition to the upcoming charter agreement, NASCAR executives have tried to change the percentages and deal with this situation as if they were giving candy to a kid. But unfortunately for them, the team owners stand on their own ground. That's why we couldn't help but wonder, is Tony Stewart the guy to lead this new charge, thanks to the success that his series is currently experiencing? We'll get to that later in this video, as first we want to talk about what Curtis Polk, an investor with 2311 Racing and Michael Jordan's business partner, said about the France family and the general aftermath when the season ends. According to him, teams determine that 93% of the value of the sport resides with the France family and racetracks, and only 7% of that value resides with the owners of the characters. When talking about this, he added, most of these teams have a very difficult time breaking even. All well-managed teams should be able to compete for a cup championship and make a reasonable profit. This has been confirmed by Jeff Gordon, the vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsport, as well as Dave Alpern of JGR, with the latter one saying that the teams have literally turned into full-time fundraisers to even survive being in the sport. As of now, it seems like the sport is losing more money than it's actually making. As Polk continued, I think the sport is a sleeping giant, but we all have to get the interest aligned because we need to grow it together. We need to grow more revenue, and we need to create greater sharing and an arrangement where every dollar that is created benefits the drivers, benefits the teams, benefits the tracks, and benefits NASCAR. That is not how it's set up right now. Now, what is it about Tony Stewart's racing series, known as the Superstar Racing Experience, that makes it so attractive to the other team owners to join? First, it's notching massive growth, and the fact that it was able to land a lucrative broadcast deal with ESPN, with this service bringing speed and thunder to its Thursday night lineup during the summer, goes to show that there is a huge potential over here. Furthermore, the series are being held inside of NASCAR but are not dependable on the law, which says that there cannot be any independent series inside of the sport that would allow it to use NASCAR's equipment, such as the cars. But with Tony Stewart being Tony Stewart, loopholes are some of the things in which he thrived. So this is something that NASCAR cannot prevent at any given point. Now with XRX growing by the day, as 3 new tracks have been included in the upcoming season, and drivers like Ron Capps joining the short but sweet racing experience, it does provide a different point of view to the entire NASCAR team owner's beef. After all, the ownership body won't have to pledge and beg for its own money, and its drivers will be paid the amount that they deserve, as there is a way to fix these things in the proper manner. But would the split result in a better or worse outcome for the sport? After all, it did happen in the IndyCar 500 before, as we saw a massive drop in the popularity of the sport once both sides decided to go separate ways. Therefore, while the SRX is very popular and the ongoing trend right now in NASCAR, that doesn't effectively mean that it has the potential to withstand the magnitude of the entire sport. So what needs to be changed so that the team owners will be satisfied as they move forward with the negotiations with NASCAR? Well, they are stuck at a neutral point right now. The issues are more than evident, and they have been laid out clearly by the team ownership. As Steve Newmark, the president of RFK Racing and a member of the negotiating team, said, "The issue right now is the teams, from an economic perspective, are struggling. Our financial model doesn't work, but the sport is still thriving. Because of that, we know there is a path forward to figure it out. It's going to take a lot more work. It may take 2 steps backward, 1 step forward. It's not a lot different than what a lot of other sports have gone through." One of the biggest issues is that the teams are able to bag in only 25% of the cake. And keep in mind that roughly half of the 36 points paying Cup races are run at tracks that are directly owned by NASCAR itself. This means that the sport is able to receive additional cash flow, which is to be used at their discretion. On the other hand, the Cup Series ownership has to deal with rising costs during the next-gen transition, rendering their own fleet of cars a worthless hunk of sheet metal, while furthermore buying up a supply of centralized parts. The move to guarantee 36 sports on the grid through a charter also cut down on the number of owners attempting a Cup race, as around 27 different ownership groups attempted at least one event in 2015. By the end of 2022, that number was cut down to 21, with just 16 owners holding at least one charter in hand. The owners are not happy, and they are not afraid to direct their anger at the sport. With this in mind, it's going to be very interesting to see which direction the sport will take. However, it's worth noting that some positive signs are being seen about the newest leaders of the France family, taking the right direction and having some serious talks with those who matter the most, the team owners. What are your thoughts on this whole matter? Do you think that a potential split is happening? And if so, do you think that that would benefit the sport in the long term? Let us know in the comments below. And after you do that, make sure to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notification posts.